Hey everybody, Emma here, and we have a wonderful guest today. He is a friend of the show, and he is a JFK guy. Knows almost everything you can think of to know about the assassination and the people involved, the witnesses, doctors, everybody. He is from Fort Worth. He is a lawyer by trade and a novelist. He's got a novel out, maybe 2 or 3 he's working on. And he is there in Fort Worth. So let's bring Jack on. His name's Jack Duffy, and here we go. Hey, Jack.
Hi, how are you?
I am good. We have been talking about JFK for a while now, and everyone seems to, I always get great feedback from that. And everybody loves to hear all your knowledge about the assassination. And as everyone, or maybe everyone doesn't know, today is November 22nd, and it's the 60th anniversary of the assassination there in Dallas. So now, Jack, what kind of stuff have you heard about the anniversary? I mean, have you heard they doing anything special down there in Texas?
They have a conference every year on the anniversary.
Now, I know the 6th floor school book depository, I can't even talk today. People can go in and look around the sniper's nest, or look at the sniper's nest, what Oswald saw. Give us a little detail on what happened that day that somebody just listening might not know about.
Well, the president was in Dallas as part of a tour of Texas and was headed towards the Trade Mart when he was shot by apparently more than one person, I believe, and he was killed, and that's pretty much what happened.
Oh my gosh. I'm like you. I don't think it was just one person. I know that you have, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you talked with some of the doctors that was there that day at the hospital, and Secret Service, Clint Hill. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So what did the doctor say? I mean, I know they were working on the president, and did they just, when he come in, did they just kind of say, "Oh, this isn't good"?
Well, they knew he had a fatal wound to the head, so there wasn't a whole lot they could do about it to try to save him. They tried with the best they could. There was not much they could do.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that, Mrs. Kennedy was in shock, and everybody was running around, like crazy trying to, find who done it and trying to get the best care to the president and everything. 2 days later, Oswald was shot in the police department.
Yeah, he was shot by Jack Ruby.
Yeah, down in the basement.
Yes.
Yeah. The Secret Service, I'm sure, was gathering people up, and there was a lot of eyewitnesses. And then the couple that was on the, right on the grassy knoll or below the grassy knoll where they fell to the ground and covered their kids. Unless I misunderstood the interview that I saw, they thought there was more than one shooter as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Everyone started running up to, up the grassy knoll hill, up the hill. And
Yes.
men that was dressed like police, and then wasn't there a guy that had like a Secret Service badge or some kind of a plainclothes policeman, or acted like a plainclothes policeman up there on the grassy knoll or on the railroad track when there were a railroad track behind there?
Yes. There was a man who claimed he was a Secret Service agent, but he had to be an imposter, it turned out.
Do you think that he might have been the other shooter or one of the other shooters?
It's a distinct possibility that he's the one that fired the fatal shot.
Oh, okay. Because didn't a lot of people say they saw like smoke coming above that fence there on the grassy knoll?
Yes.
Yeah, like a gunshot. So, and they never did find this guy, right?
No.
Oh, wow. And I know they arrested a bunch of people, and they just kind of weeded them out. And then fascinates me about all the eyewitnesses that just mysteriously disappeared or died of supposed natural causes?
Well, a lot of them were murdered.
The official word, right, was a heart attack or a stroke or a whatever, right?
Yes, some of them were shot,
Right.
so they were murdered.
Yeah. Now, I before we started the show, I was looking around on the John F. Kennedy Presidential Library website, and everybody, you should go on there because there's all kinds of stuff about the president's life and his presidency and the assassination, and I found some footage of the funeral. I'm sure everybody's seen, the black horse with the boot facing backwards, and then Mrs. Kennedy and Bobby and Teddy and them walking down the road and everything. Now, on the website, I'm going to play this, and I think I can get it to cooperate. You know how that goes, right, Jack?
Oh, yes.
Yes. So this is Admiral George Berkeley, and he is the president's doctor there at the White House. And this is just about 4 minutes. It's about 4 minutes. Being interviewed, he talks about once the president is at Bethesda from Dallas, it got there. So this is in like the emergency room. He's just recounting and talking about what he saw and what was going on there. So we're going to take a quick listen to this. Like I said, it's just just a few minutes. So, and then afterwards, Jack, maybe you could fill us in on some stuff or, comment a little bit about it and let us know what you think. Okay, here we go.
We, therefore, were put in a so-called VIP vehicle. When the assassination occurred, I got to the scene by securing a car through one of the Secret Service, Andrew Berger, and an escort of a policeman. I was there probably within 3 to 5 minutes of the time the president arrived. I went immediately in to see the president and went to the table in which he was being treated and immediately saw that for all intents and purposes life did not exist or could not be sustained. I talked to the doctors who were busily engaged in doing what was indicated and would have been indicated had there been any hope of salvation of the president. I gave them some hydrocortisone to put in the intravenous which was being given, and also told him his blood type. There was no need for anything in my estimation, but they were correct in doing all possible procedures. I then contacted Mrs. Kennedy, who was sitting outside, and that is a record, and from then on, that was my interest. Where were we? When the president was on the Air Force One returning to Washington, Mrs. Kennedy, as has been noted, sat in the rear of the plane next to the coffin bearing the president's remains. During the flight, I contacted her and stated that an autopsy would be necessary and that I was perfectly willing to arrange to have it done at any place that she felt that it should be done. She said, well, it doesn't have to be done. I said, yes, it is mandatory that we have an autopsy. I can do it at the Army Hospital, at Walter Reed, or the Navy Hospital, at Bethesda, or any civilian hospital that you would designate. However, I felt that it should be a military hospital in that he was President of the United States, had been President of the United States, and was therefore the commander-in-chief of the military. After some consideration, she stated that she would like to have the president taken to Bethesda. This was arranged by telephone from the plane, and it was accomplished. I accompanied the president in the ambulance going to Bethesda, and also accompanied him to the area where the autopsy was performed. And during the course of the autopsy, I supervised everything that was done, and
you mentioned that you supervised the autopsy.
I supervised the autopsy and kept in constant contact with Mrs. Kennedy and the members of her party who were on the 17th floor in the suite at that level. I made trips back and forth. I delivered to her personally the ring from the president's finger, and talked to her on a number of occasions. I also directed that the x-rays be taken for future reference, and had complete knowledge of everything that was done. The records are also in the possession of a member of the family.
I see. There were photographs taken also at that time.
There were photographs taken at various stages, and they are also in the possession of the family. And the only regret I have that I did not ask to have a photograph taken when he had been restored to his near normal appearance. And I may mention here that he was very lifelike in his appearance, and there would have been no question of his having been viewed.
I see.
All right, so there is, straight from the doctor that took care of the president at the White House, some details. So, Jack, what kind of comments do you have about that, about the photographs and the x-rays, and can you kind of, so we kind of figured out why they moved him to Bethesda from Dallas?
First of all, the autopsy should have been done in Dallas,
Right.
because that was Texas law at the time, and they removed the body illegally over the objection of Dr. Rose, who was the doctor who was going to do the autopsy in Dallas. Several doctors witnessed this, and one doctor, Dr. McClellan, told me that the Secret Service agent pulled a gun on Dr. Rose and told him to get out of the way, that they were going to move the president's body regardless. So that's very suspicious why the autopsy wasn't done in Dallas.
Yeah, so but I mean, if Mrs. Kennedy was the one that wanted it done, is that the reason that the Secret Service guy was so demanding, was because they wanted to fulfill her wishes? Or, I mean, I know that it should have been done in Dallas.
It's irrelevant what she wanted. They should have done the autopsy in Dallas, because that was the law.
That was the law. Yeah. And I know you've spoken with a lot of those doctors that worked on the president, or am I wrong?
Yes, I met two of them, became good friends with them. They said that there was no doubt that he was shot from two directions. The fatal shot was from the front, right front, is what they told me, which means we have a conspiracy there.
Oh, yeah. So do you think it was the mob, or do you think it was a rogue FBI guy or Secret Service guy, or?
I think it was a combination of organized crime and people in the CIA that wanted to eliminate the president.
Oh, wow. So I know some things that I've read about maybe President Johnson wanted him gone so he could be president sooner. I had read where mob and then inside jobs. And the last time you and I talked, I still think Richard Nixon had something to do with it. And I know you said that, there's no evidence to that, is what you told me. I think Nixon hated the Kennedys more than Johnson did.
Well, there's just no evidence to show that he was involved. He might have been involved, but there's no evidence.
Yeah, because it just seems like all the sneaky stuff that he done his whole political life. It wouldn't surprise me if he wasn't involved somehow. There's all these people, came out of the woodwork and said, no, they were the shooter. No, I'm the shooter. And there was some guy that I saw, I can't think of his name now. I had it wrote down and I can't find it. He was in jail and said that he met Lee Harvey Oswald and the guy down in Louisiana, and they put this together, and the guy that was in jail was the shooter from the front. Yeah, I can't think of his name now. There was a big to-do about it a few years ago on the anniversary, he was in like federal prison somewhere in New York or somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, this just fascinates me, and there's so many questions, but so little time. But I wanted to get your opinion on clip that we heard and what you thought about, the doctor, talking to Mrs. Kennedy, and then but the doctor did say, it should have been done at a military hospital, but like you said, the law was in Dallas. And so what kind of new laws come out of that, as far as like doing something happened to the president and with autopsies and stuff? Was there any kind of a law where, the government overrules the family, or
but back at the time when JFK was killed, it was not a federal crime. Now it is. So now the federal officials would take over everything. Take over the investigation.
Okay, so the JFK assassination kind of kick-started that? Is that what you're saying?
They changed the law right after he got killed.
Oh, wow. Now, I know you said you had spoken with Clint Hill, the Secret Service guy that jumped on the back of the car, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And at first he thought it was more than one shooter as well. Is that correct?
Yeah. Back in the 60s, he was saying there was a second shooter on the grassy knoll. And then when I met with him, years later, he changed his story. So something caused him to change his mind.
Oh, wow. Well, he was getting older. It might have been, it was about time for him to retire, and and then again, somebody might have got to him. Now, do you know if other Secret Service guys thought there was more than one shooter as well, or was it just, him being by himself?
There were several Secret Service agents that thought it was a conspiracy.
And Mrs. Kennedy never really talked about it, right? What she thought?
Well, she had an interview later on, but she suspected it was a conspiracy.
Oh, okay. And I know probably Bobby Kennedy probably thought Johnson was behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He definitely thought it was a conspiracy.
Well, I hate to end this lovely talk, Jack, but our time is up, my friend. And like I said, so many questions, so much out there. And everybody go to the JFK Library, I think it's .org, and jfklibrary.org, and there's all kinds of stuff on the president's life and death and everything. Jack had written a book a while back, like a time travel book, what might have been or what could have been if the president had lived, type of thing. The Man from 2063, is that right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really good, but it's not in print anymore, correct?
Yeah, the publisher went out of business,
Oh, okay.
so not in print.
Oh, okay. Well, I know you had sent me a copy, and it was really good. So, but there's all kinds of books out there on the subject, folks. Go out there and look around and check it out. But Jack, you're gonna have to come back, and we'll have more questions, and maybe we can get Dr. Weck. I'm gonna see if I can get Dr. Weck on.
Okay, well, thank you for having me.
Well, you are welcome. I'm gonna say goodbye, but hang on for 1 minute, Jack, and I'll be right back. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Let's Talk. And I want to thank my guest, Jack Duffy, for being on the show and talking JFK stuff. Like I said, there's much more to talk about and get into. So until next time, see ya.